That's what you do in the first thing in the morning on the Bassmaster Classic.
I feel the pressure to perform and showcase and just do so much for so many people that do so much for me in my hometown. I want to go big here, and it would make me and so many people happy if we could make it all happen. Being in Birmingham here at home, it would be awesome to hold that trophy up.
2014 edition of the Geico Bassmaster Classic presented by Diet Mountain Dew and GoPro. It's going to be one for the record books, one for the ages on so many levels. Welcome to our Winner's Circle program. I'm Tommy Sanders here with Mark Zona in the Toyota Bassmaster studio. And Z, this show we look forward to a lot.
These are my favorite shows. The reason why, whenever we're done with the Classic, we have brought in Randy Hall's going to be here with us. And really, if you go through his Classic, if you look at that heroic last day, we're going to break down the whole tournament and get all the news, notes, and nuggets from Randy himself. And really, if you rewind and go to that final day, when Randy made it back to the arena, we were all stunned from the media side, but I don't think anybody was more surprised than Randy Hall himself.
From Springville, Alabama, Randy Howell.
Randy Howell has had an absolutely incredible day. If Fast Track is right, this leaderboard is going to change. A two-time Bassmaster winner, and fish like that are the reason why. It's always a good thing when you're struggling to get those fish out of your Triton live well, and that is the case for Randy Howell. Boy, oh boy, went to work today in a big, big way. Holy moly. Dude, you put on an absolute clinic today, and the work is right here. Wait till you see these fish. Went in today in 11th place with 38 pounds, 6 ounces. That is about to change. You ready? You guys ready? Needs 20 pounds, 14 ounces, 5 fish all alive. 29 pounds, 2 ounces. Alabama's native son represents. 67 pounds, 8 ounces, and Randy Howell is our brand new Geico daily leader. That is a fistful of finned freaks of nature. Let's roll him through. Our first angler representing the Bass Nation. He is a full-time fishing guide on Candlewood Lake in Connecticut. That may be about to change right here. Let me hear it for Paul Mueller. Paul Mueller looks to be bringing a load of fish here. Incredibly calm, 29 years old, and a chance to win the Bassmaster Classic. 41-13 to start the day off. 25-12 is the number he is looking for. This is going to be very, very close. 25-12, 24 pounds, 11 ounces. So close, a tremendous rally on day number 2 and number 3 for Paul Mueller. Bass Nation, let me hear you. 66 pounds, 8 ounces puts you in second place, falling 1 pound, 1 ounce short of this victory here. We know you'll be back. Congratulations, an incredible run for the Bass Nation. Let me hear it for Paul Mueller. Let's bring through the next one. He was the fan favorite rolling into this, everybody picking him. Let me hear it for Randall Tharp. Randall Tharp rolled out this morning with 47 pounds and 5 ounces. Seemed like nothing could stop him from day number 1. Had a big lead on Randy Howell going into this, so you don't need quite as much as our other anglers. Looking for 20 pounds, 4 ounces, 15 pounds, 7 ounces. Well, we look forward to seeing you all year long in the Bassmaster Elite Series and want to congratulate you on a great finish here.
Well, thank you. I'm looking forward to this year. I mean, I'm fishing against the best guys in the world this year over there. I mean, that's the reason I kind of am making a switch. And, you know, Kevin and Edwin and Randy and all those guys, I mean, they're going to push me to become better, and that's what I want. So I'm looking forward to this season. Watch us on the Elite Series.
You getting any better is a scary, scary thought. Let's hear it for Randall Tharp. And then there was two. That's what makes our sport so great. Look over there, Randy.
Oh, man, that's amazing.
One more angler left to go. How are you feeling, my friend?
Words can't describe. That's all I can say. God is good.
All right, let's roll through our final angler. He left here on Championship Sunday as our Geico Daily Leader at 47 pounds, 6 ounces from Talala, Oklahoma. E squared, Edwin Evers. 8 Bassmaster wins. Oh boy, get loud, Edwin Evers. Randy Howell, join us at the scale. One of these anglers is going to be your Geico Bassmaster Classic champion. Side by side, 47 pounds, 6 ounces coming into this. Edwin Evers has got 5 fish. 47 pounds, 6 ounces when he left the dock this morning. Edwin Evers looking for 20 pounds, 3 ounces. 18 pounds, 5 ounces.
Randy Howell, and the end of the greatest day of his 20 years as a professional, leading up to the hoisting of the trophy, the winning of the World Championship at the Geico Bassmaster Classic. I can't wait to break all that down.
Definitely, the last day is what we're all going to focus on for years to come from now. But really, if you look at the last day of this tournament, number one, Randy Howell dodged a lot of bullets on that final day. Not only that, we called his first 2 days. Day 1 and day 2 was a matter of survival, and I want to find out just how Randy Howell survived.
Randy will be here to talk about all of that. Also coming in here, Edwin Evers, who had the lead in the Classic on the final day. We'll talk about all the lures, all the techniques, and last year's champion. Why was he not here defending? That's a big story as well. We'll have that and more for you when we come back.
The Geico Bassmaster Classic, presented by Diet Mountain Dew and GoPro. Winner's Circle is brought to you by Berkeley. Triton Boats. Minn Kota. And by Nitro.
'14 Geico Bassmaster Classic presented by Diet Mountain Dew and GoPro. This is our classic Winner's Circle show, and of course we'll have our winner Randy Howell along in just a few minutes. But right now let's talk to another player who made a big splash at this year's Guntersville Classic and put together a very good campaign. Oklahoma's Edwin Evers fishing in his 13th Classic, and he came oh so close. He had a chance to visit with Mark Zona.
Thank you, Tommy. Edwin Evers, another big classic, and we were just talking offline here. This was a classic. You need to make a lot of adjustment each day of the tournament.
It changed really, really fast. You know, just with that big weather system, the cold, and then it really warming up. It was amazing how fast that water changed.
How did you catch them throughout the event?
You know, early on I was catching them cranking with, you know, like a rattle bait, you know, a flap slap, you know, the first 2 days. Then as the final day progressed, I started catching them like on a wake bait, like this Knuckle 60 and just a vibrating jig. 2014 Bassmaster Classic, final day. This is the pocket I've been fishing previous 2 days. It's just a big spawning pocket. It's got a big main bar in the middle. There's some good grass in it. But right here across the mouth of it is an old road that crosses. It's got some rock. It's a perfect staging spot for bass that are moving up in here. And yesterday afternoon I caught a really big one right here on this thing. So I thought I'd start here this morning, trying to manage the spectators a little bit before they all ran over it, trying to see if I can get a bite. I'm gonna throw probably a big Magnum shaky head and probably a few crankbaits on it for 15, 20, 30 minutes this morning and just see if I can get one off of it. There's actually a few grass patches on it, but man, it's a perfect spot to catch some.
Did you want it to stay cold?
It would have really changed the tournament. It would have really kept those fish a little bit more grouped up. I think the bite was a lot tougher. It would have been interesting to see what happened if it had stayed cold.
Why that area of the lake? You look at a map and you look at really a lot of the top finishers were concentrating on really that Goose Pond region of the lake. The lower end of the lake, even though it was one down there, the lower end of the lake much more inconsistent.
It was, and Randy won it down the lake, but it all happened the final day. I mean, we missed it by a day or two. Up there it was we were at the tail end of what was happening. Up there it was more consistent. The water was a lot warmer. And I think as that week progressed, those fish moved to Randy and they started moving through that bridge.
Did you have to find them, whether it's your small jerkbait, your crankbait, you were throwing a bladed jig a lot of the tournament. Did you have to relocate these fish each day?
It's amazing, because when I found those fish the first day of the tournament, they just completely pushed to the backs of the pockets by the final day of the tournament. It was just, they moved every day, yes, no doubt.
What was, if you were to close your eyes and look under the water, what were some of the keys there?
Little grass lines, little green grass. I was fishing a lot of green milfoil the first 2 days, and then the final day, it was just clumps of that gator grass in the backs of pockets, stained water, shad were everywhere, looking for little holes in them.
Now, one thing I did notice, and we've covered many tournaments on the Tennessee River, tournaments this time of year, there's something about, though, that shoreline grass behind you, that what people call it beige gator grass in the background. Why is, I'm sorry, I have to bring that up. Why is that so critical this time of year?
I think that's just in the back of the pocket. It is so warm back there. It's in the very most protected areas of that lake. It's very warm. The water was dirty. It was warming the fastest, and those fish just felt very comfortable, and there was bait all in it.
Does it surprise you that this tournament got, we were just talking about, talk to everybody at home right now. What did you do the day after the tournament?
I went back out on Guntersville. I did. I wanted to go back through some of those areas. I had a few things in my head that I wanted to try that final day. I didn't. I was really glad I went back out because I made the right decision staying where I was. I went and tried some of that other stuff that I had going through my head those final few hours. Do I make a move? Do I sit down? What do I do? And I went back out there and it was unreal. The fish, bunch more fish moved into the same area that I'd been fishing, caught some really, really good ones. But the last hour, I said, I better go try a bridge. Going into that event, it's pretty much common knowledge that we all thought we were going to be fighting over the corners of the bridges. And in practice, it just didn't happen. There was nobody that caught them off those bridges really good, like we expected. Those 30-pound bags. At final hour yesterday, Monday, day after the Classic, I go hit 2 corners of a bridge and just light them up. I mean, it's just like they're there. I'll take it. Oh, stay on there, fish. Gotcha. Yes. Getting better.
Sanders and I, we've covered you a long time. And I made a comparison. Okay, now I'm gonna go somewhere real quick. I made a comparison real quick. When we covered Skeet Reese before he won Angler of the Year, he won the Classic, volatile, frustrated, you can use the word pissed off, angry, very mad. I see that with you not every now and then, Edwin. I see it quite often at tournaments. Do you put an amount of pressure on yourself do you think it helps you at those events?
I just want to compete at the best level that I can. I know what I'm capable of. I know I'm capable of winning these things. And not to get them done, not to finish them, aggravates me because I did everything right that final day. It just didn't happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Tulala, Oklahoma, Edwin Evers.
And you know, when it's your time, it's going to be your time. It was Randy's time, obviously, at this event. And if I was to do it over again, I would have ran up that river, and I would have survived that event.
And finished the deal.
I would have. And but I was so locked into those fish that I found out there. I thought any minute I'm going to find them. I kept looking and trying to relocate those fish. I'm making good decisions. It's just, you know, every now and then I'll lock down a little too hard on myself, and I'll get it right.
We want Happy Edwin win Angler of the Year this year.
I'm going to go after it, I can promise you.
Edwin Evers with Mark Zona there. Edwin Evers, who always seems to be around anytime one of bass fishing's biggest titles is on the line. This is our Bassmaster Classic Winner's Circle program, and of course we will have our winner, our Classic champ Randy Howell, a little bit later on. Also coming up, photographer James Overstreet with some amazing images and insights and much, much more. But how about the 2013 champ, Cliff Pace of Mississippi, won at Grand Lake. Why was he unable to defend this time around? We'll find out when we come back. Welcome back to the Toyota Bassmaster Studios and our 2014 Classic Winners Circle show, and we're very much looking forward to breaking down that Classic win with Classic champion Randy Howell in just a few minutes. But first, one Classic tradition is that one of the first anglers to qualify for any Bassmaster Classic is the champion from the previous year. In this case, Mississippi's Cliff Pace, who won on Grand Lake in 2013. But Cliff Pace was unable to come to Guntersville and defend his title, the reason being a frightening accident in the woods near his home in Mississippi. Here's Cliff Pace and his story.
Winning the Classic is such an unbelievable experience. It's really and truly, it does change your life.
11 pounds, 8 ounces. Cliff Pace has done it.
It's an experience that truly I wish all of us as anglers could actually go through, to come home and know that you have etched your name on a trophy that you've wanted to touch your entire life, and to know that it's permanently there, that you've accomplished something that you set out. It's truly a very, very satisfying feeling, and it's something that you'll take with you through the remainder of your days on this earth.
Cliff Pace is not only a Classic champion, but also an avid hunter. No one could have predicted that his passion for hunting would affect his chances of winning another Classic title. At the end of a long day of hunting in his deer stand one cold day in January, Cliff decided to pack it in.
And as I was climbing down, I took maybe a step or two, and I lost my grip with my left hand. And as I started to fall backwards, I hit a limb that was coming off of the tree I was in, and it pushed me away from the tree to a point where I really didn't have a choice but to just take my feet and essentially jump away from the tree.
Falling 15 feet to the ground, at first he thought everything was fine.
The experience itself at that point in time when it happened, you know, you're full of adrenaline, just, you know, your human anxiety and all that just kind of kicks in. I actually stood up, didn't even realize I had hurt myself. I stood up and brushed myself off, not even knowing I was hurt, reached and got my bow and took a step with my right leg as I was gonna, you know, leave. And when I took a step with my left leg, when I brought my left leg by my body and put my weight on my left leg, I fell again and I fell flat on my face. The adrenaline rush and everything had slowed down a little bit. When I fell the second time, I hurt. Whenever I actually visibly seen my leg and seen my kneecap off-centered, the pain really took force then. And there's something about when you hurt yourself, when you look at it for the first time, it really kind of sinks in. My body started going into a sense of shock. I started getting cold sweats all over me and shaking real bad. And I was soaking wet, and it was 25 degrees outside, so that wasn't helping anything either. The only thing I could think of was I can't let myself pass out until somebody gets here that can get me to some medical help.
Cliff laid there for 45 minutes before a friend was able to take him to the hospital. While there, Cliff still didn't think his injury was serious. He was hoping it was just a dislocated knee.
And I actually even talked to the doctor about it and told him in the emergency room, you know, when y'all get ready to snap it back in place or whatever, I'm ready. And After the x-ray came back, he kind of laughed and he said, "There's not going to be any snapping this back in place."
The prognosis was not good. Multiple leg fractures and a torn ACL. At that point, he knew that defending his Classic title was not likely. Cliff talked with Bass officials after the surgery.
They basically decided that rather than me having to forfeit my opportunity to compete in this year's Classic due to injury, that they were going to allow me to compete in the upcoming Classic in 2015. Essentially, they just gave me a one-year extension on my Classic qualification. You know, I don't want to sit out for a whole year, but the fact that I'm going to have to sit out for a whole year and they're going to allow me to come back and compete in a Classic, it says a lot about them and the way they perceive things and the appreciation they have for us as anglers.
Well, I think that for him, it's probably the most difficult thing he's ever had to endure in his life. It's the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. I mean, in the greatest of fashion, to have won the title and not being able to defend it.
I feel bad for Cliff. I told him, I said, it's not too bad. So that I might get a lot done. I'm like, dude, when this Classic starts, you're gonna be a wreck.
Not getting to be there this week is heartbreaking for me, just because that's where I want to be. If there was one place on this earth that I would want to be, it's to blast off at Guntersville when they call my boat number the first day of the event. It's very disheartening and frustrating for me to not be there, but at the same time, being frustrated and showing frustration towards it and being agitated about it is just simply going to make matters worse. So really and truly, the piece you see off of me that's really the only place I know to be.
Cliff Pace, as we learned, will get to defend that title, use that qualification at the 2015 Bassmaster Classic at Lake Hartwell in South Carolina, where he fished in his second Bassmaster Classic in 2008 and finished in second place. Still to come, Randy Howell, our Bassmaster Classic champion, to break it all down. But when we return, Bassmaster.com photographer James Overstreet, and talking about the time spent on the water with another big player in this Classic, Randall Tharp.
The Geico Bassmaster Classic, presented by Diet Mountain Dew and GoPro. Winner's Circle is brought to you by Evan Williams Bourbon, Yamaha, and by Toyota.
2014 Geico Bassmaster Classic presented by Diet Mountain Dew and GoPro. This is our classic Winner's Circle program. Randy Howell, our champion, coming up soon. But first, one of the big favorites coming into this one they said had as much knowledge about Lake Guntersville as just about any other angler, was Randall Tharp. And Randall Tharp lived true to those predictions over the first couple of days. Despite some setbacks on day number 2, he was right there, the lead on day 1, within an ounce after 2 days of fishing. And then, well, big things happen. What kind of things? Well, for that, we're going to turn to James Overstreet, Bassmaster.com photographer who spent almost all his time on the water with Randall Tharp. He's standing by with Mark Zona.
Thank you, T. Street. You are able to capture the turning points of the Classic. And of all of your photos through the whole weekend, the lost fish with Tharp. Just walk through what happened there.
Well, I mean, he'd had a really tough day to begin with, and completely caught an audible on what he'd been fishing. He just pretty much abandoned his milk run that he used on day 1 and day 2 and decided to move up into a creek and flip docks and lay downs and shallow cover. And one of those lay downs, he pitches into it. He's got his jig out, and he sets a hook with that big flipping stick, and it's big. He's all bowed up, and he kicks his trolling motor high, and he runs in there. And you can see this fish pinned on top. You can see the water swirling. So I mean, the fish is directly underneath him and at the bow of the boat, and he's looking down at it, and the bait just comes unbuttoned. And of course, he turns, and it's the first time I've seen any emotion out of this guy in 2 days. He throws his rod down into the boat, and he just sits down in the boat with his hands in his face for probably 2 minutes and looks up and says, 9 or 10 pounder.
That's a giant. That's my tournament right there, baby. Oh God, it's a big one. He come off. It's freaking 9 or 10 pounder.
You always talk about it. Did you think in the boat that right there was the Classic?
You know, I did. You know, there's those moments when you feel, I've seen moments when I know a guy probably won. Like Skeet, for instance. I knew the one fish he caught, I said, he's got it. And same thing with KVD in New Orleans. That fish, I said, he's got it, he's won. And he knew it. You can tell in the photo that he knows it.
That's tough to recover from right there. That's the biggest fish I've seen in a long time. I had her up to, did you see I couldn't even move her out of that tree? Dude, I could see her. I mean, she was within reach. That's what I was going in there to get her. You know what I mean? I should have just, I don't know. I was afraid she'd break my line if I let her swim down. Yeah, it was a mistake, obviously.
But this is one of those moments when it's like Hank Cherry, you know, you probably just saw a guy lose the Bassmaster Classic.
One of the biggest topics on Lake Guntersville was spectators. And of all the lakes that we cover together, Guntersville's a madhouse.
It is.
Anything goes. What a lot of these anglers don't know is when they leave a spot, what happens on Lake Guntersville. What did you witness, right or wrong?
Right.
What did you witness with your eyes?
Well, I mean, going into this thing, I thought boat traffic would be a real problem for a lot of people at Guntersville. It usually always is, and especially with it being a Classic. And typically of the lakes we go to, that's where I see a lot of that happen. There's a couple of lakes where they want to get in your hip pocket, and Guntersville is one of those lakes. These guys are not going to do the binocular thing and the way back off deal. They're going to come right up in there with you, where they can be right in the middle of everything. So there were so many boats on Randall on day 2, you know, from a safety standpoint, I'm like, man, I'm just going to hang back. And I'm just going to, when he moves, I'm just going to let them all go. Because it's just a madhouse. It's like driving a boat in a washing machine. So I let them all run, and they're doing their thing. And I'm kind of gathering up my stuff. And I look across, and I was backed off away from Randall's spot there. Well, there's 5 boats. Here they come. This water is skinny water, 3 or 4 feet deep. They idle right into it where he'd been catching all his fish. It's his key spot. A couple guys reach off in the rod locker and start doing their damage, you know. So, but I mean, you know, you'll have that on some of these lakes, but when, you know, it's a factor that you don't probably plan on, but it does happen.
Is it the worst lake in the country for that?
There's one other lake that rivals.
Kentucky Lake?
That's it. Those two, I mean, for number one, I think a lot of it, there's just so many boats on these guys at both of those lakes. You know, if you got 100 guys, you're probably going to have a couple that are probably not going to exactly toe the line on that kind of thing.
Last question I have. You're able to pick going into the final day, whoever you want to be on. You're going to ride that horse all day long. Why did you think Randall Tharp was the guy you needed to be on?
You know, based on what he did on day 1, his prior knowledge of the lake, you know, he's done so well there in the past. You know, we take a look at Steve Bowman and I take a look the evening before the last day and say, and we settle on which horse I'm going to ride. And usually I ride that horse either all the way to the trophy or all the way into the ground. And that's, you know, Randall really did on the last day. He still had a chance to win the tournament, still could have won it.
Getting close now, boys. That's a big one. Yes! Boom!
So I don't feel so bad that I might have chosen the wrong horse in this instance, because, you know, if everything goes right for him on day 3, he probably holds the trophy at the end of the day. So he was my horse, he was my guy, and I'm sure it's a lot worse for him than it is for me.
The breakdown, the lost fish, spectators, those really are probably the 3 daggers for Randall Tharp.
Well, yeah, any of the one of those could be enough to kind of, you know, to be the end of you. You know, he just held out till the very end. That 10-pounder, though, was the one that I think broke him.
Keep riding that horse.
Randall Tharp was so impressive with his 2014 Geico Bassmaster Classic, and thanks so much to James Overstreet for giving us all of the extra insight. When we come back, the moment we've been waiting for. Classic champ Randy Howell here to break it down. '14 Geico Bassmaster Classic presented by Diet Mountain Dew and GoPro, and this is the moment we've been looking forward to. As we say, the champ is here. The 20-year veteran who engineered the single largest final day comeback in terms of places jumped ever to win. Bassmaster Classic. Randy Howell ready to go, standing by with Mark Zona.
And Randy Howell, we're going to get into that final day that we all got to see. But talk to me about days 1 and 2. This was not an easy situation for you at all.
No, man, I'll tell you, it was a grind every day, and I had a terrible practice, as I told you already. Went into those 2 days and just basically trying to figure out what was evolving with the tournament as it was happening. You know, with the warmer water, warmer temperatures, the stained water, and I stayed open-minded, and that's probably what helped me. And then I also know the history of the Tennessee River lakes. The fish like current. So instead of going out in the lake and trying to find those scattered fish that all the grass had died around, I went to where they gang up with current around those bridges.
Oh, yeah. Yes, Lord Jesus. Please, Lord, please, Jesus, please. No. Woo! Bait fell right out of his mouth. That was a good one right there. That's what you need to come back right there.
Okay, so on the final day, you're going to head up to where you've been fishing the whole tournament, basically, at least starting up at Mill Creek, and you don't go.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird deal. You know, I'm running wide open, and just overwhelmingly, you just overwhelming saying go to Spring Creek now, and I'm like, I'm gonna go later. I'll go there later. I'm talking to myself, you know, and like go there now, and you know, it's like, in my mind, I hear you want to be good or you want to be great, and it was a very overwhelming feeling. Emotion just flooded up inside of me, and I immediately turned the boat around, and when I did, I got just full of excitement. I just felt like this is the moment. I'm getting ready to go catch them, and I've never felt that before, that strong ever. And so when I pulled up there, it was wide open, and I knew then it was right.
Predominantly the whole tournament, even the final day for the first hour at least, Rapala DT6, that bait right there, that is the exact bait, in fact, that you used.
That is. I caught a lot of fish on that bait. This is a great bait in cold water, and I throw it in cold water because it's a tight wobble, and it's a wooden bait. This bait kind of took the place of the shad wrap for me. Shad wrap's hard bait to cast, but it's a very good bait in cold, 45, 42 degree water. That's what I started throwing instead of that. Mostly, I just think because the fish are so subtle in that cold water, they don't want to move much, and this bait just kind of sneaks by them, and they bite it.
Woo! Yeah! That's what you do in the first thing in the morning on the Bassmaster Classic. Woo!
the most important transition in this tournament. You go into the water, you watch them eating that bait right there. Everybody from Northern Alabama is crowding on that bridge watching the Randy Howell show. When you made that transition with the Livingston crankbait right there is when you made critical upgrades on day 3.
No doubt, and you know, and it was just a whole puzzle that came together as the the decision and everything else. I didn't expect to change the bait and throw it, but they actually quit biting that bait because they moved out deeper, and that's typically when a lot of times I may have said they're not going to bite and run somewhere else. But I'd seen so many on the Lowrance off the side just chasing bait down there deep. I knew I had to get something to work in that muddy water deeper. And when I poured this bait out of the boat and got the hooks on it, and I saw how wide it would wobble and the vibration and sound and the correct color, and caught a fish on my second cast, that always helps. Well, that Livingston again, baby. That deep Livingston. They're getting out a little bit deeper, so that shallow bait I was throwing, not catching them. I went to this deeper Livingston that's coming out on the market soon, runs about 8 or 9 feet. It's got the sound in it, slow, rolling over them rocks.
The inside corner of that Spring Creek Bridge, the inside corner had very, very special, best characteristics compared to a lot of the other bridges that morning.
Yeah, they did that. Right there, there's a couple big rocks that stick up and kind of block the current. And the current was rolling and swirling on the backside there.
Heading out.
Yeah, heading out. And you had that mud line there, and you could see that mud line on the over aerial, which I couldn't see it like that, but I know when I pulled under the bridge that morning, I saw the water mix change right there, and my confidence was just flying high. Uh-oh, that's a good one. I think that's a good one. Come on, baby. Be a big one.
You look back on it now, you see you catch 20-something pounds off the first hour, but really the most critical fish were those culls later in the day where you were gaining only a quarter pound, maybe 6 or 7 ounces, but those late day culls were critical.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the right decisions on every minute by minute to make the right adjustments to catch bigger fish, because I feel wholeheartedly that I would have lost the Classic by ounces had I not made that move and ran to the back of the creek. And it was the same deal, like 12 o'clock, 12:15. I just caught a 4.5 pounder and culled, and I had that same overwhelming feeling saying, go to the back of the creek now. And I actually pulled the trolling motor up and listened, and I went back there and immediately caught a 6 pounder, and that fish probably was 6 1/4 actually, and that gave me that extra pound in the end that I needed to win by 1 pound. Yes. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Yeah. Woo! Yeah. That's what I came back here for. Oh my gosh, look at them nasty creatures coming off that fish.
One of your bass had lamprey eels on it, and you made the comment that it had demons on it. Tell me about that fish right now.
When I grabbed that fish, I knew it was a 6 1/4, and I knew I needed it. But when I saw those lampreys on it, I said, get off here, you nasty suckers. I didn't know what they were, and I didn't want them in my boat. But I kind of thought after playing with
devil-like creatures.
They were like devil-like creatures. I don't want any devil-like creatures in my boat on this perfect day,
Exactly. Now, for anybody, a lot of people did not see this. You were a wreck. You weighed in your fish. You were a disaster.
Was I?
You were a mess, dude.
Wow, I didn't know that.
You came in the makeup room. You were starting to decompress a little bit. Well, when you come in the makeup room, well, here's what happened. Tommy Sanders and myself, we were having a left-handed, uncoordinated throwing contest.
Yeah.
And what we learned right there, what we were trying to do was calm you down in the last few minutes. And that was live. The weigh-in was going on, and you really did not want to focus on who was weighing in. And we watched this throw right here, and if you don't mind me saying, incredibly uncoordinated. So I'm going to ask for everybody at home, if you don't mind, right now. Okay. You said you've been training a little bit.
I have.
What I'd like to see out into the studio, I want to see the best left-handed uncoordinated throw right now.
Girl-like. Right?
Girl-like uncoordinated. Well, I could get in trouble for that.
Out here?
Right there.
Right here. Back up into the studio.
Yeah.
Okay. Where am I going to throw it toward?
I want it out there towards Sanders right now. Okay, you ready?
Okay,
3,
ready?
2, 1. Oh. That's uncoordinated. I like that stuff right there. That is fantastic.
It was flying. It went fast and far.
Oh, you worked some magic right there, if you don't mind me saying. Do me a favor, if you can. What has happened in your life in the last 7 days since winning this Classic?
Oh, I tell you, it has been it's really been amazing, the outpouring of fan support and people. I mean, not only from Facebook, email, and stuff like that, but working the Bass Pro Shops in Nashville, Tennessee, Prattville, Alabama. People from 3 or 4 states had come to that Bass Pro Shops just to take a picture with me and the trophy, and it was like so overwhelming and humbling. I mean, it's just a dream come true, you know.
We made a comment away from you that you're, and we've known each other since we were in our 20s. I want you to talk about that this tournament win was a process of work over the last 2 decades.
Yeah, no doubt. It's been a process of work for me and my wife both. You know, we've done everything we could do to prepare for this time in hopes that one day it would happen. But you never know if it's going to happen, and you always dream that it will. And I've been to every Bassmaster Classic since I was 16 years old and watched everybody win, and I've cried at every winner, no matter who it was, when they won, because the emotion of how big the moment is just overwhelms me every time. So for it to happen to me, you know, and the dream come true at 40 years old, I didn't know when it would ever happen. I didn't think I was good enough yet to win. I kept thinking I was going to have to get a little older, and but just thankfully it happened now.
Randy Howell, join us at the scale. One of these anglers is going to be your Geico Bassmaster Classic champion. Side by side, 47 pounds, 6 ounces coming into this. Edwin Evers has got 5 fish. 47 pounds, 6 ounces when he left the dock this morning. Edwin Evers looking for 20 pounds, 3 ounces. 18 pounds, 5 ounces.
And actually, we got a camera in the crowd with your wife, with your family, and as magic as a moment winning this tournament, or right before winning this tournament, was for you, this was a whole family ordeal.
Oh, it was, no doubt. Don Barone was standing there with Robin, and when I saw that night, that next day, it was so special to watch, because I know she was feeling it, the same thing I was feeling, and it was just amazing to watch it. My boys, they love it. They still don't know the impact that it's going to make on our lives, but my wife definitely does. I still have struggled for several years with what it means to win. How do you win? How do you make yourself become a winner? You know, and every time I won, it just happened because I did the right process. And like Nick Saban says, it's not about the outcome, it's about the process. And I did the process at the Bassmaster Classic, and the outcome happened.
I'm not going to lie, John Stamos' beard, great left-handed throw. Not only that, roll tide.
Roll tide.
Congrats again to Randy Howell. You just know he'll represent the sport so well during his reign over the next year, and of course the title he'll have for the rest of his life, and rightfully so. When we come back, a few final thoughts on the 2014 Geico Bassmaster Classic, and we'll take a look forward to the 2014 Bassmaster Elite Series. Don't go away.
The Geico Bassmaster Classic, presented by Diet Mountain Dew and GoPro. Winner's Circle is brought to you by Skeeter Boats, Bass Pro Shops, Humminbird, and by Mercury.
Geico Bassmaster Classic Winner's Circle program. It has been great to break down. This one's going to be one of the most popular classic wins of all time. So many people pulling for
No
Randy
doubt
Howell.
about it. When Randy Howell walked backstage, I always look at the reaction of the other anglers. Not the angler that won. You know how he feels.
Oh, sure.
The other anglers were absolutely out of their mind excited for Randy. And the other thing about that, really looking at Randy Howell, a guy that deserves it and be a phenomenal. Hey, good guys win big events.
There you go. Time to turn the corner very quickly here. Yes, there it is.
Skeeter Boats shot of the week. Joanne O'Brien, all
Skeeter.
excited. Exactly, from Skeeter Boats. She's there having a big time, and this happens the morning of the Bassmaster Classic. A bad deal. She decides to take a little closer look right here at Lake Guntersville.
A lot going on. You can lose your sense of where you are.
Tommy Sanders, fair to say, Joanne O'Brien, you are the Skeeter Boats shot of the week on a day of the week.
She's a good sport to let us do
Terrible.
that. Very good sport to let us do that. Hey, next week at this time, we are going to be deeply into it, the Bassmaster Elite Series. Whole new season coming up. Let's see where we're going.
You know what? I've looked at the entire season right now, and I'm going to do a broad picture. You look at where we're starting, Lake Seminole, so much history there with the Bassmasters, St. John's. If you really look at the whole schedule, look at Dardanelle, you look at Cayuga up in New York. This is a shallow water fisherman's dream. Really, the only two deep water tournaments in there, potential deep water tournaments. You can look at Table Rock, and you can look at Lake Chickamauga in Tennessee.
All right, you've been looking at the full schedule right there as well. We are loaded and ready to go for 2014. Of course, we wrap it up with the Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year Championship, too, so don't forget that. That site to be named as yet, but what a great day. Breaking it down, Bassmaster Classic 2014. Thanks again for Edwin Evers and especially for our champ, Randy Howell, for joining us today. We'll see you next time on the Elite Series.